Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Monette and this is my channel, Evolve with Monette. I am an intuitive empath who works professionally with clients worldwide, as well as an author and a chef and just an all-around life path 3 creative. And if you can tell from the title, what I want to talk to you about may not be filled with smiles. This is more of a serious matter to me, and I wanted to give my empathetic take as well as some background information and perspective about the situation. Now, this situation is pertaining to Kevin Hart and then subsequently Ellen DeGeneres. Ellen recently has found herself in a bit of hot water as she has decided to be the support system in the back for one Mr. Kevin Hart. Kevin, in 2018, had what we would call a problematic year, from cheating on his pregnant wife with people. I mean, it was people, and putting her through what was, we can imagine, a pretty embarrassing ordeal. I think we all felt as women, empathetically, secondhand embarrassment and shame as she was going through that, even though she hadn't done anything. Now, what I will say here is that what we're talking about is Kevin's later in the year revealed homophobic tweets. Kevin was offered the opportunity to host the Oscars. And when he was offered that opportunity, it was found out that he had made these homophobic tweets. Now, the way that he's been spinning it is that these tweets happened, 10, 12 years ago, when really they happened, I believe, in 2010 to 2012. That was the time frame spanning. He's been saying 2008, so that would be about 10 years ago, 11 years now that we're in the new year. And he refused to apologize and he stepped down. He was grounded fully in ego. What I found fascinating about that was just weeks before he was on The Breakfast Club having a candid discussion and protecting his sister, Tiffany Haddish. And he was saying that Cat Williams, the comedian who had at that time made some disparaging or observational, I think more observational remarks about Tiffany, was not taking responsibility for the fact that his career hadn't taken off the way that Kevin's had. And he went on about a 5-minute rant in the hour-long interview where he really said that Cat needs to take responsibility. He needs to own up to the mistakes he made that kept him from having the spot, whatever that is, in Hollywood as the it guy black comedian. Now, the thing that I found very interesting about that is I've never seen Kevin Hart take responsibility for anything. And I'm going to be very honest with you today. Yes, I'm an empath, and yes, I tune into people's energies, and that's usually a pleasant experience, depending on my client and the day and what's happening. But what I will say is I'm also always evaluating the true persona, personality, and energy and intention of people. I can't even help it. It is just, it's part of the gift and it's what I do. And in the case of Kevin Hart, I don't feel like I'm alone here. I feel like there is not a righteous, it's self-righteous. There's not a righteous bone in him. Now, he postures that there are righteous bones, but I do not feel that it is genuine. I will say this too, that if you're going to understand the story, it's important to understand what we're talking about. He has made some homophobic tweets. And they were unearthed when he was offered this Oscar gig, and it was hurtful. And the reason that I'm speaking on it is because I'm a member of the LGBTQI community, and I'll leave the letter, which letter I am, as a mystery right now. We'll talk about that in another video. But what I will say is that I know from the inside what black homophobic energy feels like, what it looks like, and how it manifests in our families with our fathers, uncles, and brothers. I know that I have had friends who have been suicidal because they couldn't come out to their parents. We have seen children kill themselves recently within the last few months because they couldn't come out to their parents. So when Kevin Hart makes a tweet and says, I want to drop a dollhouse on my son's head because he made a gesture or mannerism, I find it incredibly irresponsible. Now, the truth is that when he was doing this, he was speaking from his true place. That was genuine. Remember a moment ago I said, not a bunch of righteousness in Kevin, self-righteousness and self-aggrandizing, for sure. The character that he plays, if you've ever seen The House Husbands of Hollywood, is actually who I think Kevin is. However, that is my opinion. Comment below. Tell me your thoughts or perceptions of him. But what I will say is when he said that tweet, that's the one that got me. And the reason it did is because until you are inside of the belly of the beast and you're part of the African American community and you understand what it is to have the stigma of being treated differently because you are part of that LGBTQI community, then you do not know. And that will bring me to where Ellen overstepped herself. And I was shocked. Another video, I've been having my own personal issues in regards to respectability and levels that happen when I'm watching Ellen interact with Michelle Obama. Another video on that. Fascinating insights that I have there. But what I will say is that I was shocked when I saw this video where she is taking up for Kevin and she's like, I called the academy. I asked for your job back. I feel like you've grown. Has he grown? Ellen, are you black? Do you know what it is to look at Kevin and to have an uncle like Kevin or a father like Kevin or a brother like Kevin who is truly homophobic? And that is a pervasive thought process of the heterosexual males that are in the black community, that this is so taboo, we'd rather kill you and or disown you. Lee Daniels, who is a prominent screenwriter and director in Hollywood, is an African-American homosexually out male. And he has told a story. There is a story arc in the show that is very popular, Empire, if you're familiar with it, where Jamal, who is pretty much a replica of him, he tells a story through the screenwriting where Jamal's father catches him wearing women's clothing and is embarrassed, shames him, humiliates him, and literally puts him in a trash can. That is from someone who is an actual peer of Mr. Kevin Hart's. That happened to him in this lifetime, and they are colleagues and peers. So this is not some antiquated thing that happened 85 years ago. This is happening now. And the reason that it bothers me so much that Ellen interjected herself and stepped all in it, whether she realizes it or not, is because it comes from a place of privilege and entitlement. You're not that hurt by it, Ellen. Yeah, it was gay tweets. It wasn't that nice. But the real point is, oh, well, it's Kevin. He's our chosen one and he's our token and everything is fine. We're going to give him this pass. If I see Kevin Hart on this stage hosting this, I know he hasn't gotten the lesson, guys. And the reason I take it so personally is because I have seen male family members who my father perceived to be having an effeminate moment, and the way that he punched them in their back, because you remember, think about years ago, people hit their children. I don't know if we could. I don't think it was right, but people did. And he didn't just like beat him like, this is a punishment, you're on timeout. It was a punch that almost crippled this young man because my father perceived it as gay. He never said this is gay. He said straighten up that walk, and he said other things that were derogatory about that gentleman or that young man. So what I will tell you, and here's the thing, let's fast forward. That young man isn't gay. Had girlfriends, has girlfriends, lives, married, loves women, as far as I know, almost too much, okay? So gay wasn't the issue, but it was a perception that my father had, and it was so unacceptable that he rather hurt and cripple and maim someone that was in his family than to deal with whatever it caused in him to rise up. And that is what Ellen is missing, is an insider view of what homophobia in the Black community looks like. Even though she spoke her piece and was covering for Kevin as a fellow comedian and colleague, I get that. What she missed was an opportunity to have a real talking moment. When Megyn Kelly made her statements about blackface being okay, everybody knows that Megyn Kelly is racist, except for Megyn Kelly, apparently. But everybody knows that this is the energy that she carries in her heart. So when she made that statement, the way that they tried to appease the audience that was offended by her remarks is they brought in a panel of other people to toss questions and to counter her thought processes so she could really learn and evolve. That was missing with this interview with Kevin and Ellen. What happened was Ellen had her buddy up there and did a whole PR spin with him, and she put herself in this position of being able to absolve Kevin of all of his past wrongdoings. And here's the thing. This is what I think everybody seems to be missing. Kevin is not contrite. Kevin is not genuinely apologetic. Kevin said, I'm not going to apologize, so I'll quit first. That is where you can see the hood evolve, or excuse me, erupt in Kevin. Dave Chappelle did a skit when keeping it black goes wrong or keeping it real goes wrong in the office space. And anybody that is an African American, you guys understand, or a minority period, that there is a certain behavior that you have to have when you're in amongst other people, or when you're in a job, because if you show your true self, you will be judged for it. And you know, people out there, you guys may understand that. Comment below. However, with Kevin, what erupted out of him was that ego and that pride and the hood that is in him that he has tried to wash away. And he's tried to wash it away. And I was disappointed to see the way that it was handled. And I will be pissed, to be honest with you. Yes, empaths get pissed, because I am not the sole judge of his character or his love for people or humanity. And I'm sure if he was proximal to a homosexual person, that they would change his energy. And I'm sure he has been being in Hollywood. However, what I feel like is there is an ingrained homophobia in Kevin that is palpable, and it seems to resonate with the gay community, where everybody's saying, you know, I don't feel like this is sincere. Some people say get over it, but if you are a Caucasian woman saying this is not even a big deal, it's a few tweets, but you've never seen someone that you love get punched because someone perceived that they were gay, and that was unacceptable, then you don't know. And that's my point. Ellen doesn't know. She is kind. She is giving. She is generous. But she also is an elite member of Hollywood. She also is a Caucasian woman with blonde hair and blue eyes who has been allowed to have some privilege. Yes, terrible things happened to her 20 years ago when she came out, which is also why I'm perplexed as to why she wanted to go die on this hill for this man. Not because he's black, not because he's white, but because it's like, Ellen, you fought to make things progressive. I adored you. I read After Ellen, the site that was named after you, because you literally, it was like you changed the course of history. And I felt this. How dare you speak for homosexual black men and tell all of us people in the LGBTQ community, I'm not a homosexual black man, but again, a part of the community, that it was okay for Kevin to do what he did, and that we should get over it and allow him to have the gig back. Listen, I was a teacher for many years. There are consequences to your actions, and we socialize children to understand that. You can hit your friend and apologize and still miss out on the afternoon craft or activity that was fun, because you do have consequences. If I'm not paying my bills, what is the consequence? I'm not keeping my vehicle, or I'm not keeping the lights on in my home. Why on earth does Kevin not only not apologize, he's indignant with his apology, as my mother would say, wrong and strong, and then he doubles down and says he's being bullied and attacked by the very people that he bullied and attacked. Now, yes, he wasn't relentlessly bullying them or chasing them down, but he did threaten violence on his own child. And that violence is something that reverberates throughout the African American and homosexual community. They understand exactly what that is. And that's what Kevin is missing. So, in my opinion, and in my deepest intuition, I have been put off with Kevin for a long time. I'm not going to have the debate about whether he is funny or isn't funny. That's not even relevant. What matters to me is that he is pompous and arrogant, and not in a way that feels really earned, you know? That's just me. It doesn't feel like it's earned. It feels like it's almost some manifestation at work. He spoke over himself the life he would like to have, and that life did come to him. But from the scandal that started his year last year with him cheating on that pregnant wife, very pregnant wife, to how he ended the year. And right before that, there was another incident where he had a party for his son. And yes, I grew up in the 80s. I'm an 80s baby. So Cowboys, Indians, fine, whatever. That's fine. But because we now know it's indigenous people, and we now know our history and what Columbus really did, and how the Indians were essentially exterminated for the most part, like, we know better. So we adjust. Kevin doesn't want someone calling him the epithet and the race word that is associated with African American people that's so negative. That wouldn't be okay. We wouldn't just be brushing it off. So I'm upset with Kevin because I don't think he really gets it. And I don't think he wants to get it because he doesn't have to. He's rich. He'll never have to evolve if he doesn't choose to. He's going to have to do the hard work. And the apologies he's been giving are subpar. Ellen, until you are a black person, and a black male specifically, I shouldn't even be speaking on it, but I've seen it. And I am part of the community. But what I'm saying is a black male specifically who knows the searing rejection, shame, and pain that comes with worrying that your whole family will disown you because they'd rather be singing in the choir and pretending that their lives are perfect than actually accepting and loving the child that they created, then you don't ever have a right to speak about this subject and ask us as a whole and use your platform. I mean, you have a right because it's your platform, but use your incredible platform that reaches millions and millions of people to forgive a man who's never really properly asked for forgiveness. Let me know what you think below.